Today, on You're Buying a Home with Silas Lindenstein, I'm talking about being the first buyer to submit an offer. Is it always good?
Silas gets real, buy and sell homes with a thrill. Out Seattle, baby, you know what's the deal. And he keep it real, showing you the way till it's better known. I help you buy your forever. He a real estate Jedi. Yeah, he got you. Silas Lindenstein got your back, let him spot you. Help you sell your home while you do what you love. So come in, don't forget to wipe your feet on the rug. Silas gets real, buy and sell homes with a thrill. Out Seattle, baby, you know what's the deal. And he keep it real, help you sell your home, show you everything as you move on to better things. He a real estate Jedi, yeah, he be that. Silas Lindenstein got your back, just believe that. Help you buy the home that you want, so come on, have a seat and let's find your dream home, let's get it going. Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to You're Buying a Home with Silas Lindenstein. I am your host, Silas Lindenstein. Welcome. Today, I'm going to be talking about being the first person to submit an offer on a home. There are pros and there are cons. And this episode is coming out because of a couple times as a listing agent, I have had people from a similar company have the same reactions when submitting the offer first and not getting their way, which is getting the home for their client. And I want to talk about how that comes about and strategies you could utilize submitting when you submit your offer. Some things to think about and talk about with your agent. For those of you just tuning in, my name is Silas Lindenstein. I'm a real estate agent in the Seattle, Washington area, and I'm with Boutique Brokerage out here. And I've been doing this podcast quite a while. Well, there's been a big hiatus since number 50, but I admit, for those of you that have been listening, I'm sorry. I've been away. I have been handling business. You know, I've talked about this before. I don't like to do episodes that don't have, I feel like, relevance, just to put episodes out there, just to be out there. But I'm in a bit of a quandary, right? Because you can just go to the first 10 episodes 1 through 10, available on the website. And you could just hear the step-by-step how to buy a home, right? And then after those episodes, there's some strategies and different things. And I think that is the value. I think 50 episodes, we have some good value. And the problem is when you don't keep submitting episodes, you start dropping in iTunes a little bit. And we hit number 13 at one point under education. So I struggle with that. I want to put more content out, but I also only want to bring you what I feel like is good value. So I may be bringing more real life examples in here so that other people can also find this podcast. Because I think, this podcast is a valuable source that I give to my clients that I'm working with. Say, hey, or I'm meeting people and I say, listen to my podcast. You'll know if you want to work with me or not. I did not intend it to hit on a national level so well, but people are still finding the podcast. I referred a listener to an agent, one of my favorite agent in Denver, Colorado. And she just got them into a house, the second one that she's done for me there. And it wouldn't have happened without her. And I remember once I saw taking this podcast going on a national scale, as big as it was, I realized I could be doing something bigger than just working nationally or just working locally. I could be working on a national level, helping people buy homes. And that's just at the heart. That's just what I want to do. It's just a different way than I imagined. Right. So I do need to keep producing episodes in order to accomplish that so that people can keep finding the podcast. You have done a great job, listeners, of sharing this with people. I've heard that from others that they've recommended this podcast. I've bumped into people here in Seattle that have listened to the podcast that I never met before. And that is one of the biggest joys of all the different things I've done on my 200 years here on Earth. Anyway, to this program though, I will keep trying to drop some more episodes and talk about things that are coming up, some maybe more test cases. I am discovering sometimes there are things that I don't think are super important that people are gems of wisdom, I guess. Wisdom's a strong word. Okay. They are gems of guidance that people appreciate. Anyhow, today's lesson, as I said, comes across because I've noticed a reaction by a certain brokerage that shall not be named. And when I say brokerage, just to be clear, the brokerage is the company that an agent hangs their hat with. I myself hang it with a company called Boutique Brokerage. We're a small firm in North Seattle. There's other companies. The big ones that you've heard of are things like Remax and Keller Williams. Those kind of names. I am of the opinion that it's really about the agent that you're working with, not so much what firm they're with. You'll find good and bad agents in all different brokerages. It's really about finding a compatible agent and other things. That's why I take my referral business so seriously. But if you go to certain brokerages, they will do some trainings and they will tell you how to approach things and it seems maybe how to react to things. Now, submitting your offer first, and here's what I'm saying. Say a house is up for sale, and there's usually two choices. It says seller will review offers as they come in, and also it says seller will review offers on a certain date. And there's different choices. A lot of the times in the last many years, we started doing commonly this review dates, which can be good. Sometimes it can be good for the seller, because maybe you get people competitive against the house. However, sometimes that causes a lack of urgency because people I have time to go see the house. With a listing that I had recently, we needed to create a sense of urgency to get people in there. So we chose to, we're going to review them as they come in. So people felt they better get to ours first. And so you've seen a house, you like it. I'm expecting you're going to see other places, right? You have the choice of waiting a little time or submitting an offer. If you've heard that there are no offers in hand yet, you could try to be the first one in there. It can show some eagerness. It can show some desire for the house. And I think that's good. People want to see that you really want the house. And I get that. A good thing about it is you kind of set the tone of the offers. You're the first one coming in. However, this is what I've seen happen that I think fails some agents. They will submit the first offer, and because there is no other competition, they are a little soft with the offer. They might be, asking price is fine. But if you think this house is a deal, you need to consider offering more to begin with, either just a higher amount, or if your state allows it, putting in an escalation clause that if other offers came in, you would beat them, up to a certain amount. There's a whole episode on that. Now, yes, it gives your cards out there. It tells them how far you're willing to go. But however, if you are just submitting at that price or below, it may seem like I'm just trying to get in there before anybody else offers. And I want you to panic that you're not going to get any other offers. But in the meantime, if gotten a couple other offers, likely those people already know an offer's come in. So they're going to make theirs a little more tempting in different ways. They may have talked to me, the listing agent, the other agent talked to me to find out What are they really looking for? And now that I've seen what's been offered, I can either say nothing, or at the permission of the clients, I can disclose as much as we care to try to get the offer that we want. It's not always in the best interest to say exactly what's in the offer anyway. And sometimes money isn't even the issue. Sometimes there's other things happening about the house that the agent representing the buyer should be inquiring, like what's going on? What do they need? And you sort of have to weigh that against, as a buyer's agent, you're constantly battling how bad do my clients want this house? Do they understand where their offer is sitting? I think a mistake agents make when they do submit the offer first is not following up in the right way. Instead of just following up and saying, hey, any updates? Because if you ask me if there's any updates, it's more about, have they made a decision? Are there other offers? You want to be very specific. The agent needs to be specific when they follow updates. Like, hey, I always tell people, if I submit an offer first, if I know I'm the first one in, I let them know, hey, can you please tell me if another offer comes in? I want to make sure my clients, I have a chance to go back to them and get a chance. Because technically, agents aren't supposed to lie and tell you they have another offer if they don't, right? So you have to stay in touch with that. So I always just plant the seed. I say, can you call me or text me if another offer comes in? Okay. And I found most agents are pretty honest about what's going on. And those who aren't, you can read pretty quick. But if you don't communicate that, the agent maybe doesn't have time. Maybe you don't know what's happened with them talking to the clients, and the clients just want to move on, and another offer came in just before you were talking to them, and you're looking over it, and it's a bit better. The listing agent is in no obligation to come back to that first offer and say, hey, we got something better in the meantime. They can, maybe they should. Maybe that does help potentially drive the price up. But you have to understand that there's also this element where there's a danger of telling people that there's multiple offers, because it can scare away offers as well. You could scare away future ones. And sometimes you can scare away that first offer because you said, hey, we got some more offers in. And then the buyer's like, oh, no, I don't even want to be involved now. There's sort of a no for sure way anyone is going to react to it. So, and twice now I've had an agent from a certain firm. Once they didn't get the offer, and they don't know why. But when I tell them that, I message them and say, hey, sorry, they chose another offer, the agents react, sir, we are a professional service, and this is not professional. You needed to tell me that another offer had come in. And this is not how we do business. And I don't know kind of what they're talking about. I've had so many things in this business happen where I'm surprised is kind of standard. One, like I hate it when they say there's a review date, and so I'm waiting to submit, and then suddenly they take it off the market because they got an offer. They got an offer they couldn't refuse. And for me, I'm like, well, dude, you didn't give me a fair chance. In this case, it was the client's decision to not, maybe go back at the people to see what they wanted. They could have offered more to begin with. Because they're like, we might have escalated. I'm like, well, then you should have in the first place. You should have had that escalation in there. people, and I don't fault them for trying to save their clients money. You should be trying to save them money. But sometimes you're too scared. There's a saying, scared money don't make money. Also, scared money don't get you the house. You being so afraid of paying a little bit more than you had to can cost you the house. So you always have to weigh, how bad do you want this house versus how much am I willing to pay for it? Am I willing to go over what they want or whatever? Also, and another reason is just interesting. In this case, the clients went with someone who by chance was a lot nicer to me. They showed enthusiasm for the home. They came to 2 open houses to look at it again. They were just so enthused about the place. They expressed to me how much they wanted it. The agents were super nice to me. And I will say that my clients ended up picking the kindest agent of all of them, the one who ended up being the friendliest. They asked me questions about, because when you're going into a transaction with these people, these people, they're strangers. You don't know. You're trying to measure out what these people are going to be like to work with, both the buyer and their agent. And that agent represents you. So if that agent is a little bit short, if they're not very nice and friendly to the listing agent, person hosting the open house, there's a chance you could not get it just because, offers being even, this was the nicer person. I'll tell you, I've gotten a client a house. I know I have gotten clients homes because I am kind to the other agents. I remember this house in Maple Leaf that's an area in Seattle. Like, you're in Nashville going, I don't know what you're talking about. But I got clients a house. The agent told me when I went to look at the home again during an open house and talked to them, he said, we got another offer that is like pretty much exactly the same as yours. So there's that, but I honestly kind of like you better. You seem a little more pragmatic and such. So I'm gonna recommend that he takes yours, but we'll see what they do. And then they got the house, and I can directly, and I've had that kind of thing happen a couple times. If you're somebody that the people want to work with, they might help your clients get the house. So, and so think about that when you are hiring an agent. Are you getting a bulldog? A bulldog, yeah, they might run over the other people and get you your way, or they might turn people off. You never know. I think it's possible in this business to be kind and get what your clients need and want. Those are not polar opposites. So don't be afraid of picking the kind agent, the one with humor, the one that's calming. I just be careful going with the one who seems like, honestly, a little bit more bullyish. That's what I would say. So, as the topic is the being the first to the offer, yes, the first to submit. I've been on both sides of this. I've been the first to submit and gotten the house, and I've been the first to submit and not gotten it. And sometimes the agents didn't call me. They didn't call me and tell me that there's another offer on the table. They said, well, that was your offer. That was your offer. It's on me. The onus is on me as the agent to find out how this listing agent wants to receive things, how that seller wants to receive things. It's a little easier being the second offer, I think. Second or third. Because you know what you're working with. it can feel scary. I get that. When the second you're starting to compete against somebody or seemingly competing, we think it's competing. It's not really. I get that. But remember what I said earlier. Scared money don't make money. Scared money don't get the house. But I get it. Money is precious, and I believe, and that's understandable. But if you know the house is worth more, so does the listing agent. So do the sellers. I've mentioned this on other podcasts. The price is probably on the lower side to try to get more offers in, or to get them in quickly. There's a lot of different strategy based on the needs of your client. It's always a juggle. If they price it too high, it could sit on the market too long, and then they get discouraged and don't want to sell. If there's not a lot of availability for the house, you just want to get people to go in and see it as quick as possible. How pricing is much of a strategy based off of just how the house staged? Is it not staged? Are people living there, or is it vacant? Like, there's a lot of things that go into pricing a house and creating demand for that listing agent and the seller's point of view. For a buyer, it's a little more straightforward. You just want to buy the house, and you want to get it for a reasonable price. And it feels very hard right now. But but patient. I think that was the last episode I did, was talk about patience. You got to be patient in this home shopping business. And that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about today. I do think it's valuable. I think this is a valuable thing to discuss. So talk to your agent, figure out the strategy that you're going to go with the house. Don't be afraid of making your offer undeniable. Instead of just being okay, just it's an all right offer. It's fine. Make the seller afraid of losing your offer. That's what you want. And be great. You don't have to do that in a threatening way either. You can be kind. Be kind. Go to the open house. I'm not really big on the open house generally, but I will say the advantage to an open house is if you have a chance to meet the listing agent and show some of your personality and you click, it might rub off. You might learn about some hobbies that the sellers have that you will also share, and you can share that. And then suddenly, they want to sell this to these people who would be their friends if it wasn't just for circumstance. If they just hadn't met, these would be friends. Wouldn't that be ideal? Anyway, that is the show for today. As I mentioned, I refer listeners to agents all over the country. So if you are out of the Seattle, Washington area and looking for an agent still, or want to see what's out there, who's available, please email me at silas@silasgetsreal.com. And I will ask you a few questions, and then I will connect you with an appropriate agent, I believe, for you. And also, if you do want a written form of the first 10 episodes, which are the step-by-step process of buying a home, I have an ebook. Just email me and ask for it, silas@silasgetsreal.com, and I'll send it to you. I just ask you to tell me where you're from, because I like to know areas and states that this is going out to. So I would appreciate that. Anyway, that's my program. That's the show. Thank you for joining me here in my new studio, my lair, my Blair, whatever you want to call it. My name is Silas Lindenstein with Boutique Brokerage. If you're in the Seattle, Washington area, please be sure to give me a call if you're looking to buy or sell a home. Until next time, thank you for listening, and thank you for buying a home with Silas Lindenstein.
Silas gets real, buy and sell homes with a thrill. Out Seattle, baby, you know what's the deal. And he keep it real, showing you the way till it's better known. I help you buy your forever. He a real estate Jedi. Yeah, he got you. Silas Lindenstein got your back, let him spot you. Help you sell your home while you do what you love. So come in, don't forget to wipe your feet on the rug. Silas gets real, buy and sell homes with a thrill. Out Seattle, baby, you know what's the deal. And he keep it real, help you sell your home, show you everything as you move on to better things. He a real estate Jedi, yeah, he be that. Silas Lindenstein got your back, just believe that. Help you buy the home that you want, so come on, have a seat and let's find your dream home, let's get it going. Yeah.